Right.
And I had actually known some girls in high school that were kind of tied into that, that realm. And I
Right.
had a crush on the girl in high school. I didn't know she was like that, but I
Right.
had a friend of mine that used to be one of those guys. He wasn't anymore. And he
Right.
pulled me to the side and he was like, "Hey Drew, you don't want to hang out with her. That girl is into that stuff.
Hmm.
Okay?
Hmm.
That's who she really is." And he's like, "I'm telling you, you gotta trust me. Like, don't." And I say, "Hey, if you tell me that's going down, dude, I trust you with that."
Now let me ask you a question though, brother,
Yeah,
'cause, you know
yeah,
what you're saying got a lot of information in it, but you know what, it made me think about it.
yeah,
Because you do have to pay attention to your environment. And if I'm going into an environment that I know is hostile, then I'm going to go into that environment prepared. You know what I'm saying? To
yeah,
say.
absolutely.
But one of the questions I had, like, and I'm going back to this anti-Karen thing because I think it's interesting that act or that legislation, passing that legislation, would it help certain communities? Will it help
Mhm.
the environment change? Because it seems to me like what's going on in Colorado with the ranchers, and we'll move on after this, is that 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 culture had become uh, ingrained in that particular environment because the way the police handle these things.
That's right.
So to me, in environments that I've seen that were, this way, it was the way that the police handled it. The one who was doing the harassing,
Mhm.
they gave them more attention than the one who was being harassed.
Absolutely. And that gives
That's,
people more power.
yeah. Now, a lot of these people, like you said, with environment, because this is something that we have to, and these things, this is why I think the anti-Karen legislation or law should be put into practice. Because many of these people in these communities, they've lived there forever. Some of them are 2, 3 generations deep,
Yeah,
and they all know each other. They know they know they went to school with the police that in that
yeah,
community most of the time,
yeah,
in those particular communities, because they're not taking people, excuse me, they're not taking people from entire another community and dropping them to police in that community. I
yeah,
doubt it. They kind of do that with the inner cities, but in rural places, they normally keep everybody know each other. They went to school together. They was either married, they people married each other, or they were married to one. My ex-husband's a cop, my ex this and this and that.
hmm,
They want to live a certain way. They don't want to
yeah,
live around black people. Let's just call it for what it is, because that might be what it is. I'm not saying
yeah,
it's, that it is, but let's say it's a possibility, and it's a plausible possibility because we've seen it happen here in America. So
yeah.
someone gets upset, or they become uh, afraid of the competitiveness that this particular uh, person or these people may be bringing to that area,
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
these people are ranchers now.
Yeah,
So now that's a competition in that particular area, possibly concerning ranching. And over the years, if you look at it, farming, black farmers have been crying out for a while, man. And you look
that's true. That's very true.
out for a while, man, and it just seems like when it comes to farming and ranching and things of that nature, certain people have a monopoly on it. It seems that way, It seems like that would be something very hard for another culture to get involved with, you know, um,
Absolutely.
without submitting to the people who are there, right, right
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Instead of being decent competition, I'm here to farm. I got 1,000 acres. I paid for it. I paid taxes on it. It's mine.
Yeah.
So I believe the police department need to be held accountable, because you can't hold a fool accountable. Some fool go out there throwing rocks or vandalizing their property and running like a coward,
Yeah.
and then call the police on you when you retaliate. I think one of the guy's stories was that his cows got out. One of
Yeah.
his cows got out, and this is something that commonly happens. Cows get out of enclosures. This is not something that, you know, uh, he's not being a good farmer about.
Yes.
But it's all about the fact that, okay, something took place. Now I'm trying to investigate it to get my cows. And because he's so afraid, he got to hold his hands up. Look, I'm just getting my cows. You got to do all these things that it just strips some of your value away from you unnecessarily. Why do I have to submit like this to another person about my business?
Absolutely.
And these are the things that, in my opinion, those particular cultures, in many cases, the police do know these people. They know they're like that, but they give them more of a pass, as opposed to when, let's say, if this was a gang infested neighborhood.
Yeah.
Gang infested meaning that the police already know about it, because they know all of them already. They know who's selling dope. They know who's not.
Yes.
But there's only certain kind of pressures they put. You know what I'm saying? And
Absolutely.
because of that, that environment is allowed to grow, allowed to be as lascivious as it can be, with minimal policing to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if that makes a good contrast or not, but
no, that's a perfect contrast.
and I think that the CAREN Act. Let me ask you this question with it, right?
Yeah.
Would it be more in the area of resolution, or will it be more inflammatory to the opposing side?
That's a good question.
Here's the thing now. We can call right, and see what needs to be done, right? But now when you try to pass certain legislations, you get people who act more like vigilantes than wanting to adhere to the new law and the new understanding.
Right.
And you get pushback from them. You get pushback from that. What you think about that, brother?
This is what I think. I see exactly both sides of what you're saying, but I think they should push not just that bill, but a really strong bill to say, if you call, here's the thing, if you call law enforcement because you see somebody that's mysterious in your neighborhood, there will be serious repercussions if it is found out they have nothing to do with it. And I would stretch that and say, in that rule, the law enforcement has to make a decision within several minutes.
Right.
Because sometimes they gotta take them down to the station, they gotta do all this, no, you're a law enforcement agent. Okay.
Right.
I've been trained by the best people in the business. People, my partner, he could go down there within a few minutes, sometimes within a few seconds, and go, this person isn't causing a problem.
Right.
Hear their story, and go, this isn't a problem.
Right.
And then immediately know what's going on and immediately act on it and have the whole thing done.
That's good policing.
Yes.
But there is a such thing. I don't want people to think that I'm just being negative. There's a such thing as good policemen. Policing.
Yeah.
But there's also a thing is not be when you don't allow the community that is already has a sorted understanding about socialism, about pluralistic understanding of people, to become part of your policing.
Yeah.
Because if
absolutely,
that's going to come with a bunch of biases.
Yeah, and I'll share with your guests, I worked 5 years, about 5 years in court security for San Bernardino County, California. Right. And then I did about 5 years working private investigations. I spent the other 5. And I did homicides, child molestation cases, trafficking, corrupt law enforcement. We investigate all that stuff. Didn't make us too popular. We didn't make a lot of money. Right. We were hunted a lot of the times because we had that good of a resolve with things. So when we went looking at corrupt law enforcement, we banged on the doors, and they didn't like that. When they gave us a case, we banged on the doors. So that exactly painted targets on our backs. It didn't make us too popular, but I felt compelled to do something. You know what I mean? Right. I wanted to do something. It wasn't about being $1 million making Magnum PI private investigator like Tom Selleck, wearing Hawaiian shirts and cruising Lamborghinis. Even though I do like that show and I grew up with it. I grew up in that time. Love Tom Selleck. Yeah. I got a story about him later. And but real investigations, the honest investigations, let me get to it. The honest investigations.
Right. I think that's the best way to put it. Honest. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't make a lot of money. There's times where you're not even getting paid because you see the family just cannot afford to give you $2. Right. So my partner and I would be like, oh, you guys make paper. Yeah. Well, just hook us up with a couple boxes of paper and we'll do your case. That's what we did.
Right, right.
And we would find their lost family member, or we would find their daughter they got pulled into stripping or trafficking. You know, we would go look for them and find out and give them the report and see what they wanted to do.
Right.
Or we would take that case where excessive force was used with a law enforcement agent, go see if that's what was going on. And if that's what was going on, we would take the next necessary steps to go look into that matter and go fix it. You know, if we could do that. Now, I'll tell your guest, if you're going, Drew, what does if mean? If means not me, not my partner. If means will the DA, let me be real with you guys, if the DA will allow it to happen. Okay. In San Bernardino County, a lot of DAs believed exactly what the sheriff, CHP, what they had to say, and took it as the gospel without even looking at a report, a foot casting, evidence, anything.
And
just because
that's the problem.
Yes. I've done court cases where that's flipped, where we won and it's flipped on them simply because they did not look at the paperwork in front of them that said, hey, they wouldn't look at it. And we took it to court and we looked at it and we said, no, that's not right. Right. And it flipped on them, you know, and that we've had that happen because of that. That's an actual, that the case I'm thinking of was a triple homicide case I did. That's what ended up happening. 3 people were killed in a self-defense case. Angry neighbors, much like the people out with the black farmers. It was angry neighbors brewing and brewing and brewing until somebody got killed.
Right. Okay. Right.
And it ended up, and they were all Caucasian people, by the way.
Right.
But they took the guy that did the self-defense, they put him in jail. I'm trying to remember. It was either 10 or 15 years he spent in jail without a conviction.
Wow, that's crazy.
Before the trial even happened, he spent 10 to 15 years. He lost off his life.
It's gone, and then and didn't even get the due process.
That's right. They just booked him and threw him in.
How to receive.
That's right. That's what I want people to understand. We're talking about the black farmers, but as you know, Tank, you and I talked about this. I'm for everybody. You're for everybody.
I'm for everybody, right?
This is a Caucasian guy with blonde hair, with blue eyes. It's now gray because he's older, but he went to jail not even properly convicted for 10 to 15 years and had to wait that entire time for his trial until Rick and I touched it and we went head to head with it. And I think he made like $5 million or more dollars. He might have even made even more because there was that case and then there was the civil side of it. And then there was suing the actual sheriff's department, all that stuff. And then the separate entities from the DA to sheriff to everybody that was out there to their shady doctor they had that read a coroner's report that they paid off, who was a drunk, but that's a whole nother story.
Boy, I bet you have some stories back. You've been right in the thick of things, you know what I'm saying? And that's what I mean, being privy to certain types of information. You understand the truth more than a person that's not privy to all this. Like, you know what I'm saying?
But people are so ignorant to, this is what I'll say, people are so ignorant in a way to where they know what I did, right? But they have this self-entitlement and self-righteousness that just thinks it doesn't make sense in their mind, therefore it's not possible. Right. A lot of people today, especially today, believe that they think the law works like this and the law works like that. And this is what happens. And I'm telling them, I know the law. I worked in the law. It doesn't work like that.
There's a bunch
people can override it.